This is Cotswold District Council Live. Good afternoon, or good evening should I say, and welcome to another episode of Cotswold District Council Live. My name is Councillor Joe Harris and I'm the leader of Cotswold District Council, and this is the show where we give you a whistle-stop tour of what's happening in your district and what the council is doing to support you, our residents and businesses. This is also your opportunity to learn about what your local council is doing and ask us questions and help shape the future of the district. I'm joined tonight by Councillor Mike Evermead to my right, who is the Deputy Leader of Cotswold District Council and our Cabinet Member for Finance, Parking and a whole array of other interesting things. And to my left, I am joined by Councillor Jenny Ford, a veteran of these shows now and always a face we like to see. A big thank you, of course, to the Barn Theatre here in Cirencester for hosting us. And make sure you get along to their production of Peter Pan this Christmas, COVID rules permitting, of course. We've got a packed show this evening. We're going to be talking about the budget, the council's budget. We're going to be talking about the bins. We're going to be talking about young people. So we really have got a lot to cover. And we're going to start with the budget. It's that time of year again when councils are putting together their draft budget and really taking the opportunity to listen to local residents through consultations, getting their views and really finding out what your priorities are and if they align with what we are putting forward. We're going to watch a VT now, which features Mike, our Deputy Leader, and he's going to give us a quick run through of the budget process and what you can expect in this year's from Cotswold District Council.
Hello, I'm Mike Evermy, Deputy Leader of Cotswold District Council and Cabinet Member for Finance. We're currently consulting on our budget plans for the next financial year. To provide some context on the financial challenges local councils face, we thought it would be helpful to explain how the District Council is funded. Local councils have four main sources of funding: central government grants, business rates, fees and charges, and council tax. For many decades, the bulk of councils' income came from a combination of government grants and fees and charges. However, because of large reductions in government grants since 2010, that's no longer true. This council, Cotswold District Council, has seen its government grant funding cut by nearly 60% since 2010. For the coming financial year, Cotswold District Council is planning for a total revenue expenditure budget of £24 million. Half of that will be funded by income from fees and charges and government grants for specific services. The Council's net budget is therefore £12 million, which will be allocated to deliver essential services across the district, including waste and recycling collections, planning, heritage and conservation, support for individuals with housing and council tax, and our leisure and cultural services. While our proposed budget for next year is set against the backdrop of COVID-19, it maintains the Council's commitment to action on climate change, protection for our most vulnerable, delivering homes for people who need them, and helping our economy recover. In order to pay for our proposed investments, meet funding challenges, and build the financial resilience of the Council, we will need to increase our revenue. We plan to do this in three key areas: setting our fees and charges at commercial rates, driving forward our recovery investment strategy, and by a modest increase in council tax. Council tax rates in the Cotswold district are low compared to other areas, so we feel a small increase is justified to continue our work to improve services and pursue our plans. Let's take a quick look at how council tax is set. Council tax revenue is split between Gloucestershire County Council, Gloucestershire Police, Cotswold District Council, and over 100 towns and parishes across the district. Each authority draws up a budget which sets out how much they need council tax payers to pay in their area to support the provision of their services. Of this year's council tax bill in the Cotswold district, this council share is just 7.4%. This means that for every £100 a Cotswold resident pays in their council tax, this district council receives just £7.40. Our proposed council tax increase of £5 a year for the average household works out at just 10 pence a week. Our local council tax support scheme means those on the lowest incomes will either not pay this rise at all, or the council will share the impact with them. I hope this has helped provide you some context about the financial challenges we faced as your district council. I'd like as many people as possible to take part in our budget consultation. If you haven't done so yet, please head over to our website to look over our plans and complete a short survey at cotswold.gov.uk/budget. Thank you.
Mike Evermy there, our Deputy Leader, and I am thrilled to say that Mike joins us in the studio. Mike, thank you for putting that video together. I think we all recognise that sometimes budgets and the terminology around them can be a bit boring, and I think for most councillors, I think it's fair to say that sometimes we can switch off, but it is really important, isn't it? And particularly at the minute, I think the slogan for the budget this year and last year has been rebuilding your council. Why have we selected that slogan?
Because when we took over the administration of the council last year, we were faced with a situation where we had a £1 million saving to find in our budget. I think it has been referred to as a black hole for the budget that we're currently in this year. We really needed to make sure that we could build financial resilience. So that means that we've got enough revenues coming in that we're not dependent on the government keeping up with the money they're paying us, because what we have seen, as I mentioned in the tape, is a decline in that, and we're expecting further declines in the money coming from government. So we need to be more money for ourselves. Yeah.
It's, those figures from government are quite something. I think since 2010, the council's budget or funding from government has been reduced by 60%. So, that's quite something, isn't it?
It is, and that's why we need to build our own revenues, as I mentioned in the tape. So, people have already are already making contributions. We increased the charges in our car parks. That wasn't altogether popular, but that was an absolutely critical thing to build the financial resilience of the council. We will need to do some things like that, and a modest increase in council tax. But it's all about the priorities. Budgets are about priorities and what we as a council want to achieve. And the key ones, we talked about tackling climate change, providing homes for people that can afford to rent them, and helping our economy recover from the impact of COVID-19.
Absolutely, and I think ensuring that key services are maintained and continue to function is really important, isn't it? Because I think over the years people have maybe said, "Oh, you're not as proactive as you once were." That's something you're looking to change.
Absolutely. I mean, we've rebuilt our waste service this year that was launched in March. That cost us £600,000 more than the service that was there before. But I hope people have seen that it's a better service, collecting the food waste separately. That's then recycled and into energy. We want to invest more and improve services, not just maintain them.
Brilliant. And there are some quite exciting big ticket things. Okay, they're big strategic concepts at the minute, but things like sustainable transport, that's something that a lot of residents mention, isn't it? Absolutely.
But before we can do sustainable transport, we need somebody that works for the council that can map out what we can actually do. And that's what we found as coming in as a new administration, that there just weren't the people there employed by the council to do the ambitious things that we want to deliver.
So we've got a consultation, and I think the public can be a bit sceptical of consultations sometimes and feel that they're not really listened to or they're a bit of a waste of time. Why is it important that residents take part in this consultation?
Because they will be listened to, because all members of the council will look at the results. Last year we provided a full summary of answers to every question, and everyone that wrote in the end, the last question where we asked people just to write what they want us to prioritise or what they want us to do, that was printed in the council agenda and shared with every single member of the council before we decided on the budget. So this does matter, this survey. Really would absolutely like people to do it. It should only take them 5 minutes to read the summary of our budget proposals and fill out a 6-question survey with a question at the end just to say whatever they want to in free text.
And Mike, how can they fill it out? It's open until the 8th of December, I believe. What's the best way to fill it out?
It's midnight on Tuesday the 8th of December. Go to cotswold.gov.uk/budget and all the information is there and the link into the survey.
Marvellous. Mike, thank you very much for a quick taster of what's in store. And I encourage all residents, if you want to have a bit more detail about what's going into the budget, get on to the District Council's website. That's cotswold.gov.uk/budget. We really want to hear your views and whether you think that we're tackling the right issues or not. We're going to talk about young people in the Cotswolds now.
Thank you, Joe. Have you heard of an organisation called Young Gloucestershire? I'm not sure many people have at the moment. Have you? Good.
Have you, Mike?
Good.
Yeah.
Mike, you have. Excellent. We both have.
Good. As chair of the Cotswold Community Safety Partnership, we met urgently to discuss how we could be there for our younger residents during this second lockdown. I think we're all aware that our younger people have been suffering just as much as everyone else, and they've been perhaps underrepresented. For our next segment, we'll be joined by Alicia Wynne, who is an operations manager from Young Gloucestershire, to talk about some of the fantastic work that's happening across the Cotswolds to engage with our young people. And last week, I joined Young Gloucestershire at the Cirencester Skate Park. Although I kept my feet firmly on the ground, I think my skateboarding days are done. If we can just take a look. Hi, I'm Jenny Ford, Cabinet Member for Health and Wellbeing at Cotswold District Council. I'm also Chair of the Cotswold Community Safety Partnership. Today I'm hitting the streets with Young Gloucestershire and a team of youth support workers to chat to some young people who are out and about during lockdown. We're here today on this horrible weather at Cirencester Skate Park, and Young Gloucestershire staff are on the ground across the Cotswolds talking with our young residents. The aim is to help educate them, to help us all stop the spread of COVID-19 and encourage them where possible not to gather in large groups. We set the scheme up because in a response to the coronavirus pandemic, because we believe that our younger population has sometimes been very unfairly labelled as being responsible for the rise in infection rates. And we thought it would be a really good opportunity to find out what was really going on the ground and why people might be gathering in large groups and why they're not at home. It's truly inspiring to see the great work of Young Gloucestershire in our neighbourhoods. They are really listening to the needs of our young people, establishing what's really going on for them at the moment and building relationships with those most at risk and most vulnerable. I would like to extend a massive thank you to Young Gloucestershire for all of their hard work in supporting our young people in the district from everyone at Cotswold District Council. Another thank you also goes to Jess Rudge Welford, who is the Operations Manager for Young Gloucestershire, and she's here with me today. Thank you so much, Jess, for inviting us along today. I wondered if we could start just by you telling us about some of the activities that you've been doing with our young people across the district.
Yeah, so one of the key things really that we've been doing since kind of the first lockdown back in March is really being out on the streets with young people, talking to them about what struggles they're facing at the moment, how they're finding current lockdowns, and more importantly, really being there to listen to them and find out what their challenges are and putting the right support in place for them.
Okay, that's great. And what advice would you give young people struggling in this second lockdown?
That it's okay to not be okay. We're all struggling at the moment. The most really important thing right now is to reach out, talk to somebody, whether that's a teacher, a friend, a parent. Someone is always there for you. You can always contact us, crisis helplines. The most important thing is to appreciate that actually things will get better, and we're all here to support one another.
Okay, that's really good advice. Thank you so much. And also, what would you like our residents to know about the people that are watching this today? What would you like them to know about our young residents?
That we were all young people, and we were young people in a world where there wasn't really so many rules and regulations, that we're all trying our best. Young people are really struggling as well at the moment, that I think the most important thing is for us all to go out and actually take the time to talk to young people, find out how they're finding lockdown, and just more importantly have a bit of an understanding really about the needs of young people nowadays.
Okay, thank you so much, Jess. It's been wonderful to see your staff in action today. I think you can still hear and see them behind me. I look forward to seeing more from your online support services, and I gather you've got a new YouTube channel.
We have, yeah. So what we're really keen to do is make sure that young people start to understand some of the rules around COVID, but in a light-hearted way the best that we can. We know that there's so many rules out there. Young people are really struggling to absorb information, that if we can come up with the right platform that's a little bit more young person friendly, then we should be able to get the message out there.
Yeah, we've seen today, they certainly like the camera here, don't they?
Yeah.
If you're a young person and you're looking for training opportunities or practical support, then please visit Young Gloucestershire's website or get in touch by emailing getinvolved@younggloss.org.uk, and their website is the same, it's younggloss.org.uk, and if you just contact them with your name and phone number and the support that you're looking for, and you'll be able to
We'll be in touch.
Thank you so much.
Jenny, I can't believe your skateboarding days are over. Can you believe that?
Believe it. I think the thing that really, it was such a cold day, and I think the thing that really struck me was I'd forgotten how children don't like to wear coats. And we were going around talking to them and asking them where their coats were, and they were like, "Oh, it's in my bag," that sort of thing. So it was an interesting experience. So I gather we have we've managed to get Alicia on the line to dial in to us today. I don't know if we're ready to talk to her yet.
Alicia, can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Alicia?
Hi everybody, hope you're all well. I'm so sorry I can't be there in person.
That's okay. You look nice and warm where you are anyway, which is better than Jess and I were last week.
Yes, I can imagine. I've been there many times myself.
Yes. No, they were really very impressive, and I love the way they got the kids to talk to them, and they were very, very eager to engage with them. I just wondered if we could ask you a few questions, if that's okay. I wondered if you could tell us what are some of the reasons that children give for being out in groups or not being at home throughout this pandemic.
Yeah, of course. So there are various different things that we're hearing from young people. I think in one respect, there's confusion around the rules. And for example, they're saying, why can we be in a classroom all together, but then when we're outside of school, we can't be together. We're in a bubble already. Why can't we be together more than 6 of us. They also want to socialise. They want to be together. That, you know, this period of their lives is very much about learning who you are, your friendship groups, and developing and socialising in that situation. And I think it's, you know, we all miss socialising, obviously, but for young people particularly, it's a really, really key time for them. And we need to be listening, as Jess has quite rightly said, as well as, you know, adhering to rules and regulations, but listening at how we can help them to adhere to those rules, as well as keeping themselves safe and developing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it's really interesting. I've got 2 teenagers myself, and it's really struck me actually what a long period of time it's been actually in a child's life, this pandemic. And you know, these are the years, particularly for teenagers, where you know, they should be having new experiences, and you know, things should be happening, and they should be exposed to new things and new friendship groups, and how important friendship groups are at that age, and how they're not getting to have those experiences. So I wondered, could you tell us, what do you say to people who might say, well, it's up to the parents to make sure the kids are at home, you know, they shouldn't be out in groups, you know, where are the parents? What's your response to that?
Well, I think there'll obviously always be, you know, an element of responsibility on parents. But, you know, as a parent myself, obviously, and a youth worker working with young people, you know, it's also about a community, and us being responsible as a community, talking to young people, not just writing them off as, you know, rule breakers or not listening. Actually, let's educate them. Let's help them understand the rules and how they can stick to those safely, rather than just think that they are, you know, assumptions always quite often are made with young people that they don't care about the rules. Actually, they do. They don't want to put people at risk, but they equally are not quite clear on how they can do that safely.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, and that really struck me when we were talking to some of the young people there. They're just as worried as the adults, and that was quite surprising, actually, as we were talking to them. They don't, you know, they're finding it even harder to absorb the rules than we are as adults. I mean, you know, I think of how we've struggled with all the changes and the ambiguity, and they're struggling, you know, even more so. Also, it was freezing cold and wet when we met with the kids on that day, and I wondered if you could tell me a bit more about their need for shelter and Wi-Fi, because we've been learning quite a bit about young people with the work that we've been doing with yourselves.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, as we all know, youth provision over the last sort of 10, 15 years has really reduced nationally and both locally as well. But obviously even more so now with COVID, with restrictions that they're having to adhere to. It's really, so what they're saying to us, actually, they are kind of congregating in places that, so kind of outside shops, because there's street lighting or lights from the shop. They don't feel safe either in dark spaces. They want to be able to be seen, see each other, keep each other safe. And also things like Wi-Fi, you know, they will stand at a shop so that they can piggyback on some Wi-Fi. Because again, things that, and it's interesting, a young person said this to me and I hadn't really considered this, but they were saying, well, look, my mum and dad are both working from home. You know, up until 5 o'clock, they finish school at 3:15, 3:30, and they're on Zoom calls, working the Wi-Fi, so they need to be out of the house. But they equally want to, you know, be able to communicate online, as we all are these days.
Yeah, that's been really interesting for us. One of the reports that we had back was the reason that some large groups of youths were gathering outside in a pub car park was not because they were trying to get alcohol, but was because they were trying to tag onto the Wi-Fi. And I think, you know, the minute you understood that, it kind of really made sense to me. And also, I just wondered, what sorts of issues do you come across that are unique to a rural area like the Cotswolds?
So first and foremost, always what young people say is transport. Even prior to kind of COVID, we did a big piece of research early last summer, last year, and that particularly came out from rural areas around transport. So as much as it's about opportunity and access to activity, it's also about, can they get there, if you know what's on offer, how far is it, can they afford it, and how regular are those buses if they haven't got parents available to transport them. So that's always a real kind of top issue in terms of Cotswolds and rural areas. Also in terms of you know, we used to run youth clubs all in the Cotswold areas, and it is a difficult place to manage and to be able to offer support, but That's why we found actually being out and about on the ground, talking to young people where they're at actually seems to be a much more effective way. And what they're saying to us is they don't necessarily want a youth club. What they want is somewhere to be able to get together, to be able to be safe, to have some shelter, have some warmth, light. You know, these are basic things that they are asking for. And things like access to sports fields where they can have some activities, have some football posts. So it's not about necessarily, yes, transport's there to get to the bigger and wider services, but it's also about individually in those communities, the small communities, how can we work together to be able to provide opportunity and reach them and provide the support that they may need at that time.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Alicia. I've really enjoyed working with Young Gloucester. I hope we can continue to work with you because not least that we can support our young people, but also so that we're learning so much about our residents and what they actually need. It's really invaluable. So thank you so much for you and your team's time.
Thank you, Jenny. And likewise, yeah, it's been great. And you've got some fantastic young people out in the Cotswolds. So yeah, more than happy to get out there and meet with them as much as possible.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Alicia. We're going to have a bin update now. Don't know about you guys, I have really, really missed that jingle. That's what has been missing in my life over the past few months. So good to have it back. Right, Andrew Doherty, I'm afraid, cannot be with us in the studio at the moment, but he has very helpfully recorded a video all about waste, recycling, and what's going on at the council at the minute. Roll VT.
Good morning, my name's Andrew Doherty. I'm the Cabinet Member for Environment, Waste and Recycling. Just a quick update, mostly to thank everybody for your efforts as we go into, and we're in now, lockdown 2. It's been a hard year for everybody, and it's been a hard year on the waste service front. We've seen a lot of changes, we've seen a lot of numbers coming up, and we've seen you recycling a lot more, spending a lot more time at home, and that's been something that John and his team here at the depot have been working on to try and keep the waste service running and to pick up all of that material that's coming through at the minute. So John, for example, at the minute, how much extra material are we looking at?
So at the moment we're looking at a 31.9% increase on recycling material from last year of what we were collecting commodity-wise.
Okay, and are we collecting more normal waste as well?
We are as well. We are collecting about 15% on average more refuse waste across the 2-week cycle.
Okay, so we're up on everything at the minute, but the good news is you're up higher in terms of what's going out at the minute on the recycling. So our recycling rates have improved, even though the amount of waste we're collecting across the board has increased. So that's something we'd like to thank you for. We'd like you to keep following the instructions, keep packing up the cardboard the way we need you to, and then we can get everything in and get everything off your drives and out and away. As we head into shopping season, because November is apparently when we all go out and do at least 50% of all of our Christmas shopping. Obviously lots of you are going to be doing it online because not all of the shops are open at the minute during lockdown 2. One of the things we'd like you to ask is have a think about where you're buying it and how you're buying it. Black Friday, the shopping extravaganza that certain internet companies would like you to buy lots at, for example, is coming up. One of the things you can look at doing, helps the environment, helps on waste, is think about whether you actually need everything next day or not. Dead simple thing to think about. You buy 3 items, you get them all delivered next day, they turn up on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Could you have had that as a single order on the Wednesday? That's less vans running around, it's less cardboard and it's less packaging. If everyone did that, it would reduce the amount of cardboard and paper we see quite a lot, and it would also reduce all those vans scurrying around, which isn't very efficient. You all want to do something green, have a think about how you get your deliveries done. Okay, and we're also pretty soon going to be heading into winter. It's not too cold today, but it's definitely November-y. So one of the other things we need to work on and be ready for is winter. So what's going on in terms of winter prep?
So for the winter prep at the moment, we've embedded the new fleet across the service. We've also got preparations for the flooding and gritting, if required, to help out for residents.
Okay. And the new fleet stuff, in case people aren't particularly aware about, is behind us. So on the left-hand side, you've got one of the small lorries that does the standalone food pickups. They're brand new this year because of the new food service, where we're picking up the food every other week separately from the rest of the waste. And then we've got a whole selection of new lorries. A lot of the other ones were getting a bit long in the tooth, so we've got a lot more new lorries. That's your garden waste, it's your residual waste, your black bin waste, and with all of those things, newer vehicles, running well, less chance of breakdowns, looking good going into the winter.
Andy Doherty there, our cabinet member for the bins. And if you go to cotswold.gov.uk/bins, you will find everything you could possibly need to know about waste and recycling in the Cotswolds. You can find your collection day and all the information associated. That's cotswold.gov.uk/bins. Very important. We're going to have a chat now about vulnerable people in lockdown. A really, really important time for many, and we need to make sure we're looking after each other. Throughout November, Cotswold District Council councillors and staff have been taking a proactive approach in contacting over 4,000 residents identified as vulnerable to make sure they have the support and access to essential supplies that they need during this current lockdown. Jenny, tell us a bit more.
Okay. This has been a big logistical task for us, but as you know, Joe, we are committed to being here for our residents throughout this pandemic, and we're not going to stop now. We want to protect and support the most vulnerable members of our communities, and we have set out to contact everyone on the list, that's over 4,000 people, supplied to us by the government. And many people we've spoken to have been perfectly able to care for themselves or already have a really strong network of friends, family or community support. But we have also spoken to residents who don't. This second lockdown has been really tough for all of us. Even the most positive of us, I think, have really struggled, both in terms of feeling isolated and the stress of having to access services and vital supplies all over again. And not everyone finds it easy organising online food supplies, for example, or using the internet. So we want to offer practical support where we can. So please spread the word if you know anyone that we should contact, and don't hesitate to get in contact with us if you have concerns about a neighbour.
And Jenny, really important, what would your advice be? Where should we send people if they're concerned about a neighbour or a resident they know of? Where should they go to?
Well, I think the best thing to do is probably drop us a line, give us a call on our phone number, or drop into the website and send us an email. There's also lots of information on our website as well. You can also go through the Gloucestershire Help Hub, which is still up and running from before. So there are a number of routes in, but seriously, just pick up the phone to us, because we've got a whole team of people who will be waiting for your call.
Brilliant. I'm going to talk now about these 16 days of action, which is a domestic abuse campaign that we're supporting here in the Cotswolds. Now, from today until the 10th of December, we're working with partners across the district to raise awareness of the support available to people who are experiencing domestic abuse. Jenny, I know that tackling this terrible crime is a priority for us as a rural council. What else can you tell our residents to look out for in the coming weeks?
Yes, well done. We're asking people to educate themselves about how to spot the signs of domestic abuse and what help is available for people. There's often a tendency, I think, to think that this sort of abuse doesn't happen here, certainly not in the Cotswolds, but we know it does. And we are hearing that cases have increased over recent months, particularly with the pandemic and the lockdowns that we've had. And in fact, some are calling it the silent pandemic. We're working with the good news is that we're working with some incredible local organisations, GDAS, the Holly Gazzard Trust, and the police are fantastic, raising awareness and delivering domestic abuse champion training courses to communities across the district. We're also asking businesses and residents to light up or display purple where they can, or perhaps wear purple, to show your support for the 16 Days of Action campaign. And eagle-eyed viewers may have already spotted that the local parish church here in Cirencester is lighting up purple in support, and it would be so brilliant if everyone could go purple over the course of the 16-day campaign. I think our residents and businesses will be keen to express to victims that they are not alone, especially at this time of year.
Jenny, we know we ran this campaign last year, didn't we?
We did.
We had Cirencester Parish Church lit up, I think Reedsdale Hall in the North Cotswolds, Trinity Road, our offices, and it has made a difference, hasn't it? We've seen reporting.
Yeah, definitely. And people, I mean, it's such a taboo subject, isn't it? It's still, you know, even today when we were on the engagement van talking to people as they went past, it's still one of those topics that people feel very uncomfortable with. And so we've got to keep on talking, and we've got to keep on using the support services that are available and reminding people that these behaviours or the abuse that some people are being subjected to is not acceptable, and we are here for our residents. It's not just the people experiencing it, it's the knock-on effects, it's the impact on children. We know that children have suffered particularly from being in families where domestic abuse is prevalent, and also actually animals. You know, we've heard some terrible cases of some you know, dogs and pets that are being used as part of the cycle of abuse or have been neglected as a result of domestic abuse occurrences. So it's really, really important. It's something that we are serious about, and it's something that we all need to be regularly talking about to each other.
Great, thank you, Jenny. And for more information, check out Cotswold District Council's website, that's cotswold.gov.uk, or follow us on social media. We've got Instagram, we've got Twitter, and of course we have got Facebook. We'll be sharing information, help and resources throughout the campaign. I'm going to go to our Q&A section now. More comments actually than anything. So Mike, I'm going to put a couple of these to you because surprise, surprise, there are a few about the budget. Barry Parsons, hello Barry, thanks for your comment. Any council tax increase should be limited to an absolute maximum of residents' average pay rise. Any comments on that, Mike?
It would be, I mean, I think we're heading into a situation where most of us are not going to get a pay rise. I think that's the circumstance that we're going to find with the economic situation we're in. As I think I mentioned at the start and in the video, we get a very small proportion of the council tax that people pay in the district. And we do need to build our reserves to be able to deliver on the plans that we have. So, you know, the proposal for a £5 a year, that's 10p a week, we think is a modest proposal, and I think one that most people can afford. And if they are struggling to afford that, we have a council tax support scheme. So get in touch with our team at Trinity Road, ring us up, particularly if you're recently unemployed and you're now claiming universal credit for something. Yeah, ring us up because you may well be entitled to a discount on your council tax as a consequence.
Right, we've got a question from, or a comment, sorry, from Rosemary Andrews. Rosemary, you're a frequent commenter. Thank you very much. We're glad to have you, and we're glad that you take time out of your evening to be with us. And she's commented, to continue to increase council tax annually and parking fees does not make sense when the salaries of a large number of people have been adversely affected by COVID. Mike, do you want to comment on that?
We're not increasing parking fees, proposing to do that within this budget. As I mentioned in my what I said earlier, we've introduced a change, and what we've now committed to do is to look at it every other year. The problem I think we inherited was it hadn't been done for 10 years. So absolutely we're going to look at that, but not for the next year. I've just answered the point I think on council tax, that you know the revenues of this council are very, very low. And we have high ambitions, and the people of the district have high ambitions to change and improve the district, and that needs us all to put in a little bit more in our council tax.
Great. Jenny, I've got a question about policing here from Alan. I know this is an issue close to your heart. You have good links with Gloucestershire Police. He's concerned about policing in the Cotswolds. I think he's heard some sort of you know, some headlines about, you know, crime in the Cotswolds rocketing. Do you want to sort of reassure him on that?
Yes, I think I just want to reassure people actually that, you know, you will hear about various stories and they make the paper and they make social media, but that's largely because they are unusual. And I think we have to remember that Gloucestershire and the Cotswolds in particular is still one of the safest places to live in the entire UK. And we should be reassured by that. And we have a wonderful police force. We have a wonderful Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner. They have just released their priorities, which I think are appropriate for our area. And the police work diligently to get across the district as far as they can. We have to remember also that we are a huge geographical spread of 450 square miles, and that the police have been, for a long period of time, they have had a lot of cutbacks. So we are only just now starting to see a resurgence and a revival of the police force, so that we can start to have more police in our towns and villages. But I think I would just like to reassure people that actually the stats are, and the reality is, that crime is low, and spreading fear is not a way to tackle that.
Okay, Mike, I've got a question here from Steve. Are you going to be using your council tax to fill some potholes?
The county council should be doing that, Steve, because they're responsible for highways. So, you know, we don't, as a district council, fill potholes in the road or repair roads. That's Gloucestershire County Council's responsibility. And as I think I mentioned, they get actually £74 out of every £100 that we pay, and our council tax goes to them. So, yeah, get in touch with your county councillor and let him or her know that that's what you want the money to be spent on.
Great, thank you. I've got one final question from Sarah. Joe, is the moustache staying? Sarah, no, it's not.
Thank goodness.
We might not be doing budget cuts, but this will certainly be cut in the next few days. So we're coming now to the end of our show, and I want to say a massive thank you to all viewers and encourage them to get involved and make their voices heard through the budget consultation. We'll be back next month on Wednesday, the 16th of December, so get your questions in to us. We'd love to hear those, and we always like engagement with the public. That's what these sessions are for. And please share the show with other residents and your communities, particularly those who may not be online, that you can show them to. Reminder of our social media channels. We're on Twitter at Cotswold DC. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/Cotswold DC. We're on Instagram at Cotswold DC, LinkedIn and YouTube. So do check it out. All the exciting and interesting content that is shared on those. That's all for this evening, folks. We will see you in a few weeks' time. Thank you very much for watching. On behalf of Mike and Jenny, see you next time.